Hello, good evening, and welcome to the kitchen sink. What I want to talk about is the election and the candidates, the parties. And if we was to start the party and we start to look at UKIP, the argument don't really add up. They seem to want to blame Eastern Europeans, immigration, and leaving Europe as the problem. But like all the other parties, they do not speak for workers or families. They are all for themselves. For example, when you look at the unemployed are the ones mainly seeing UKIP as some form of hope. But let me put it to you another way. Within the political circles, the business circles, they speak of, how would I put it, minimum wages. What minimum wages is, and in those circles is known as, and it's known to them, and I'm telling to you, it's known as a peasant's wage. They don't speak for you as unemployed. For example, if you remove the Eastern Europeans, would UKIP be saying that British people that they claim to love so well will have to work for a peasant's wage? Listen to another scenario. You have companies like Tesco. They make money. And while all the parties will attack the unemployed, if they do not take the so-called minimum wage to work for some of these companies, such like Tesco. If you work for these companies and you work for that minimum wage, you then have to go and claim other benefits. You're still going back into the benefit system. They complain about the unemployed of them getting money. And they usually put it in a way that taxpayers' money. But wouldn't it be better? Which one is morally correct? The taxpayer helping the unemployed, or the alternative is the taxpayer sponsors this big company that do not pay a living wage. And I think when it comes to living wage, we've gone past that. We need a bit more than a living wage, you know, because the people have struggled for so long. But if I move on, one of the reasons why UKIP has been so successful is that the Labour leadership failed to speak for workers, whether in work or out of work. You know, the unemployed people, they go through a circle because there are no real jobs. There are very few real jobs paying decent wages to make ends meet. They may put up an argument, take anything, but taking that anything causes more hardship for people that are working to these wages more than anything else. So none of them speak for you. They speak for themselves because they are busy, and what they're usually busy doing, they spend more time working out how to feel penny pinch on topping up their salaries. So they are too busy to deal with working people. They need to be dealing with a real issue, which is wages. That's one. You know, Ed Miliband on wages, he was talking about 2025. I don't know where that figure come from, that year come from to deal with wages. It makes no sense. What they're saying does not add up. For example, you have David Cameron recommending that young people should take jobs with companies like these. They call it work experience. Well, if there is room for them to do work experience, they've got a vacancy. So they continue to sponsor these companies and expect the people to accept it. It's got to be unacceptable. Let me give you another scenario when it comes to our youth, because you as parents, you must care about your youth. And not so long ago, if you look back in recent history of this country, there were kids at the age of 14 going down the mines to work. Today, we have kids that leave school at the age of 19. There are many tradesmen out there unemployed. There are plumbers, electricians, unemployed. We've got to come to a system and the other scenario is that the Nick Clegg and those governments have put up pension age. So there's a space between school and pension. So assisting the trade within the school is probably one of the most positive thing you can do. An electrician, he can teach mathematics. A plumber can do the same thing. That is where you can draw real teachers from to shape the youth for tomorrow. You know, having worked as a plumber in the building trade, one thing I know, in the building industry, it may go dead for a while, but when it picks back up within our youth, there must be a ready workforce. So they've got to think people. When you look, people speak of utility bills and the problem of coping with gas, electric, water. But if you look at gas and electric, over the last few years, we have had relatively warm winters. Therefore, what we have is this. We think mentally we are all right, and people are still crying. But we don't really yet know the price of gas. The government may complain that they can't do nothing about the price of electric. But I tell you what they could do. They could cut out the cash cow that these companies use every day to drain the money. People that have keys to top up keys for utility every day. They can, what they can do is this: legislate and move all service charges, because every day that old lady sits in her house cold, turns off her heater, same speed daily, they're pinching pounds, millions of pounds from people, and they call it standing charge. The government can remove standing charge. And if they remove standing charge, it will be a better yearly option than the percentages that these utility companies are offering, such as gas. By far, the people will be better off, because that's a daily charge. You pay that every day that stand in charge. So wages, youth, this is the area the government needs to be looking at in. I bring experience to the table. During the 80s, I worked for the Manpower Service Commission. It was a project that was run by Ealing Council. I worked there as a plumbing instructor. There were different sections. There were bricklaying section, and I don't know if you come from William, you can dig it out in the library. During the warm and winter campaign, people were trained even during those times that were encouraged to do trades. We've got a great opportunity to reset. I don't want to use the word reform, because some of my old comrades might have a lot to say about that. So it's about education. You need the right teachers, and teaching is a skill, and when you look at all sector, personally in life, I've worked with under 5s, under 14s. I see them of age now. There's nothing there for them. Their parents are dismayed. So it's time to reset and readjust and think different, because no matter what you do, tomorrow belongs to the youth. The youth ain't going to get no experience, real experience, working for these companies such as Tesco for free. That is just totally out of line. The Tesco's, companies like Tesco's, they were building Tesco Express shops faster than Jessop's were opening Cameron shops. Now they're retracting and closing some of them. They need to be transferred to wages for its workers, because they make money, they dance around the taxes. But if they pay wages to the people, it will help to regenerate the economy. So there are many scopes, there are many ways, So it's not about Eastern European. I've had enough arguments with friends on other on Facebook, when concerning Eastern Europeans. I think one of the worst one I saw was concerning Eastern Europe taking their jobs. As far as I'm concerned, if any one of my children has to go and compete for a job that pays £6, 30 or 40 pence an hour, well, they might as well just sign on, because that's the way it is. That's not a wage. This is 2015. Companies are making money, but they need to pay the workers. And if I'm using Tesco as an example, they're not the only one. I don't want Tesco to be upset with me, because I shop in Tesco's, No problem with that. Sometimes I shop in Sainsbury. No problem with that. I'm not attacking the company individually. I'm just using, and they might send me some money for good promotion. And if they do, I'll be grateful. But at the same time, better still, pay the workers at least £10 an hour. That should not be a problem with some companies like that. Because if they pay wages like that, they'll attract a better workforce. They'll have better candidates fighting for those jobs. And who are peasant, lead them to the peasant wage, you know. But so if the UKIP leader wants to speak for the British people, these are the issues I want to hear about. Any of the leaders, because at the end of the day, none is different from the other. You know, I didn't want you to talk about Nick Clem, it's just as a minor party. So, but anyhow, you're speaking about getting people out of the tax bracket. Well, it will be better if we get people into a tax bracket. And if the people are paying taxes, the NHS will help in not just financially, the young men that are treated inhumanly at job centers, they themselves that end up on the streets, drinking from street corners, because they have lost purpose. They could get back into work and feel and regain some confidence. I have seen at job centers the way they speak to people. And I just want to spend the last time that few minutes I've got dealing with that section on job centers. You know, I've seen people in their 50s that were in work long term, and they are faced with the dilemma of looking for work. Technology have passed them by. They will go to job center. They will give them a run around for a year, then send them to a job program that will do what? A man has worked for over 20 years. You can't program him to work. He's a worker. It's just circumstances that's brought him there. And the time they are degraded in the job center, by the time they get to the next place, they have headache. So that is when they send them to learn IT. And when they go to learn IT, more problem, because most of these places, and I have experience of that. I spent the last 3 years in that environment. You have all that matters is that they go on what is known as Learn My Way, which used to be go on. And the whole idea, get through the courses. I've seen people that could barely speak English get through the courses. They don't understand a word, very little what they go through. They understand. But they get a certificate, ticked away, sign off. But they know nothing. But these places is part of a circle, because at the job center they're ticking boxes, on the job program they're ticking boxes, at the learning centers, the computer classes they're ticking boxes. None have the interest of the unemployed at heart. It's just a matter of ticking boxes. So these are the things that the parties, the real things, the things that matter. You know, I was speaking to some folks on Facebook, on Eastern Europeans. They say, yes, you're right, but they don't like us as black people. Yes, but I can say I have Polish friends that go back over 40 years and we still communicate. So we can't really fall totally on a racist ground, separating people. That's just not the correct way to think. We got to look at the issue and ask why. People move. People look for better. But the main thing, people have to respect each other. And when people don't respect each other without regards to class, you have problems. And what they were asking, you know, if they don't like us, which poses the greatest threat? The wages or race relationship going back 50 years? So it's about education. We have to educate ourselves. We've got to think for ourselves. We all can look and blame each other, but we've got to take responsibility and see where we are going wrong. And we have to deal with the real issues. I'm not going to waste time with this and deal with fantasy. It's the real issue. The fact we need a better wage, an education structure for the youth, because what they need is jobs. They don't need, I'm looking for the word, work practice. They need jobs and they need to practice saving money. Work experience, they can't save a penny from that. The best experience is on the job, and the best motivation to be on a job is being paid a wage. To be forced to go on a job that doesn't pay wage still amounts to slavery. You're forcing youth, the children, to go and work. Teach the children a trade from school. Get electricians into the classroom. Get plumbers into the classroom. Get bricklayers into the classroom. The trade can be taught from school, because the school age has gone up and I feel it will have to go back up again. And when ages in school go back up, what happens? You leave a void for a while, then after you have a drop with many people, more than that was for chasing more jobs, and then it continue mass unemployment. You know, we've been there before. We should know how to deal with that by now. And it's time the prices of utility has to go down and get rid of all standing charges. If you speak that way, as far as I'm concerned, as government, you're speaking to me. I want you to think about it and have a blessed evening. Look after yourself. I hope to see you on the next side in another program. And I hope to be broadcasting next Wednesday. Bye for now.